1927, the world was hungry for expansion. As the automobile transformed society, the demand for glass, for windshields, for buildings, for progress itself skyrocketed. What you are witnessing is a rare raw record of the Ford Motor Company's glass plant. This isn't a dramatization. This is the industrial front line, where sand and fire were forged into the windows of the modern world. For the next 6 minutes, we step into a factory floor that roared with heat, grit, and the relentless ambition of the early 20th century. It begins with a batch. You see the workers moving sacks of white powder, silica sand, soda ash, and limestone. They weren't just moving materials, they were measuring the chemical foundation of glass. Notice the lack of automated conveyors. It was raw human energy, shoveling, mixing, and feeding the maw of the furnace. The worker in this shot is preparing a vat, stirring the molten mixture with power-driven paddles. They had to achieve a perfect, consistent blend before the heat could work its magic. At these temperatures, there was no room for error. Once the molten glass was poured and rolled flat, it was moved to the massive revolving polishing table, the big wheel you see here. This is where brute force meets absolute precision. The glass is locked onto this enormous spinning platform where it passes under a series of mechanical buffers and grinders. To create the sheer volume of glass needed for thousands of vehicles, Ford didn't just buy materials, they mined them. You're looking at the raw beginning of the process, men setting charges into the solid cliff face. This was high-stakes engineering. A perfectly timed blast would break the rock into manageable sections, exposing the high-grade silica sand required for the glass melt. Notice the scale of these workers against the sheets of glass. When you're dealing with panes reaching 18 by 24 feet, you aren't just moving material, you're managing gravity. And then the process continues on the rollers. You're watching the concept of flow in action. This isn't a static workshop, it's a living assembly line. The glass sheets glide across these rollers as if they weigh nothing at all, moving from the lair to the cutting station and then off to the shipping docks. Now watch the scale of this operation. The massive sheet, 18 by 24 feet, is tilted from a horizontal position into a vertical one. This is the moment where the glass is at its most vulnerable. You see the workers up on the scaffolding, literally riding the table as it tilts. It's an incredible visual of balance and gravity. They have to hook the top edge of that glass to the overhead crane cables at the exact right moment to keep the sheet from shifting or cracking under its own massive weight. These workers are standing on elevated platforms, working in perfect synchronization with the crane operator. There's no room for a slip-up here. Now we've reached the core of the operation. You're looking at the furnace, the heart of the factory, where silica and soda ash have been reduced to a molten, glowing liquid. This is the gathering phase. The workers use massive, long-handled tools to dip into the furnace, expertly skimming the impurities off the surface of the molten glass. Watch the teamwork here. They are moving these heavy clay pots, the crucibles, in and out of the extreme heat. It's a rhythmic, high-pressure task. They must fill these metal pots with the molten glass without losing any heat or causing the material to cool prematurely. These men are operating in a workspace that would be physically punishing by modern standards. Their movements are calculated and deliberate because, at this stage, the glass is essentially a liquid fire. It's a process of extreme precision, balancing the raw, dangerous power of the furnace with the delicate need to fill those crucibles for the casting table. This is the moment of truth. You've seen the gathering process, now watch the transfer. The workers pull out that heavy, glowing pot and wheel it across the floor on the turtle wagon, right up to the casting table. After the crucible is wheeled to the casting table, the transformation truly begins. The workers carefully scoop the molten glass, a material so hot it radiates heat you can almost feel through the screen, onto a table to be rolled into the final sheet of glass. Please subscribe for more like this.